anymore. At least, they haven't been the same. Her thoughts wound back to her dream of the night previous. My dream last night was different. I dreamt of that door, that small room or closet, but when I opened it, it was empty. My mother wasn't there. August blinked a few times, then sat up with a deep sigh. Okay, but what does that have to do with what happened today? She turned her emerald eyes on him narrowly. Ophelia told me she saw my mother in the hospital last night at her bedside. At approximately the same time as I was having that dream of an empty room, my mother appeared to Ophelia. At least, that's what she told me before she... Sadie trailed off, massaging the lump in her throat. The mass of tears she swallowed down felt hot and sharp and called to mind a chunk of coal. August tried summoning a smile, his first since that afternoon, and looked almost queasy for the effort. I know we've been through a lot, and that we've seen some weird stuff these past few days, but... He shook his head. Sadie, this is insane. What could your mother possibly have to do with this? Why would... He shook his head again, sitting further upright. It doesn't make a lick of sense, okay? It was some delusional talk, I'm sure. She wasn't in her right mind. Again, they were silent. Sadie didn't argue the point, didn't think it up for debate. Ophelia had been on the mend, had been freed of Mother Maggot's corrupting influence. But in the final hours of her hospital stay, she'd encountered something that had broken her. Something whose very memory had been sufficient to drive her to suicide. No foreign presence that she knew of had been in the girl then. She'd swallowed that coal of her own volition, as if to head something off at the pass, or as if the recollection of this nocturnal encounter was simply too burdensome. Something had weighed on her young mind so heavily that it had broken under the load. But what precisely, Sadie wondered, could have driven the girl to do such a thing? What jolt to her system could make suicide seem a better avenue than survival? A girl had perished in her prime, and to hear her tell it, the horror responsible still walked the earth, in the form of Sadie's own mother, no less. Sadie would have liked to dismiss this as an impossibility, but recent days had brought her to a sobering conclusion. The only thing she knew of this vast, chaotic world was that she knew nothing. The evening wore on, and every silent moment that passed added another pound of weight to the dread-saddled air. At one junction, as if to ease the atmosphere, August had asked, Well, what do you want to do now? Where do we go from here? She had, as it happened, already come up with an answer to this particular question. Nothing, she replied. We're leaving it alone now. A girl is dead. We already went too far. Sadie's most recent foray into the supernatural had been prompted by the best of intentions, but now she understood, at no little cost, that she'd been right to flee from her abilities for the previous 9 years. No good had come from her meddling, and no good would come of deepening her involvement. Ultimately, she's dead because of me, August. When my grandparents urged me to run from all of this, I should have taken their advice. I should have kept running. Imagine if I hadn't gotten involved. Ophelia might still be alive. She could have gone elsewhere for help, could have gone to someone who actually knew what they were doing. August flopped over and buried his face in one of the cushions. Then I suppose I have blood on my hands too, huh? I'm the one who urged you to get involved. I'm the one who told you to confront this gift rather than to hide it away. She dismissed him with a wave. I didn't have to take your advice, you know. The fault is still mine. Maybe if I'd never been born, this wouldn't have happened. Maybe this all could have been avoided. Don't say that, he was quick to counter. It isn't your fault or mine or anyone else's. What happened was a tragedy, but blaming yourself isn't going to bring the girl back, all right? Sadie held in a sob, waiting for it to fade in her gut before finally speaking. Ophelia told me that it wasn't over, that things were worse now. She kneaded her brow with her fingers. Worse than Mother Maggot. If this isn't over, then how much worse is it going to get? Lacking an answer for that, August rolled to one side and peered down at the floor. Get some rest. Her mind was stretched so thin it felt on the verge of tearing. It was only in surrendering to fatigue that